Welcome to Boys episode 140. I made it back just in time. I'm here.
You did. Dude, just bare, what do they call that?
By the skin of your teeth.
By the skin of your teeth, photo finish.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to L.A. Mm-hmm. Another wild week in L.A.
Well, technically you were in Anaheim, which isn't really L.A. It's L.A. adjacent.
Well, close enough. Closer than you ever will be.
Oh,
But you go all the time. You go to California a lot.
I do.
So yeah, I went to the NAMM show, which is a guitar. Well, it's really just a music trade show. You got everything from guitars, bass, drums, PAs, microphones, drums, band instruments, parts,
Accessories.
Accessories.
Are you sure it wasn't NAMM Blah that you went to?
Well.
Ooh. Same weekend.
Busted. I forgot. There was a joke that I said something about NAMM. Damn. I can't remember. Anyways, I'm a little fried.
Yeah.
All that sun and warmth and lots of this. 4 days straight of that.
Whittlies?
Of Whittlies.
And you were on your feet. Like, how many hours out of the day would you say you were on your feet?
Well, the show started at 10 and went to 6. So there's 8 hours, but an hour before and an hour after.
To set up and break down.
So I got a lot of exercise while I was there. The hotel we stayed at was about 1.5 miles from the convention center. And let me tell you.
And Frugal Robbie, do some walking.
Well, I wanted to join a coworker, Aaron Tackett. He likes to walk. And we were 1.5 miles away from the convention center. Parking at NAMM
sucks.
Is a nightmare. I mean, like, hours to get in and out of this place.
And I'm sure like rideshare stuff was like a pain in the ass too.
It's also on the same street as Disneyland. So there's just it's crazy, dude. So Aaron and I walked back and forth from the show every day. So I got the 9.5 hours on my feet all day every day, and then 1.5 miles there and 1.5 miles back.
Did you do your step tracker?
No, I should have. Yeah, Kate was like, "Oh, you should have taken my Apple Watch so you could," because I really wish I would have, because I guarantee it was the most activity I've seen in months, condensed into 4 days. Yeah, 5 days, I guess.
Well, was there at least like, I would assume over in that area, there's a lot of businesses you can like pop in and get a cup of coffee. Absolutely. But it's like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and shit.
No, they had, what was cool is they had all kinds of places. Yeah, they had your Dunkin' and your Starbucks, but there were like little like, Latin places and like all kinds of cool places. And that was great. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. It was a great show. We did a really good job, had a lot of fun, ate a lot of good food, ate an amazing steak the last night. Let me just tell you about this.
Was it from Bubba Gump?
No, but I did walk by Bubba Gump every night.
Like longing through the window, like, oh.
Like, can I make a lift? Can I make a lift? I need my shrimp. No, I don't think I'll ever go back.
No.
I did it. Y'all know, I like the movie.
It was a thing you got to do. You're a gumper.
Yeah, I'm a bona fide gumper. Yeah. And
that's how it is with those restaurants.
Well, you remember last year? Yeah, exactly. But like a year ago, pretty much on the dot, I was lone wolf gumping.
Yeah.
And now, I stayed with the pack this time, but I had a wonderful steak the last night. It was a prime rib. It's about 2 inches thick, medium rare, cooked to perfection
with ketchup.
Extra ketchup. Tons of, just slather it in ketchup.
That's how he eats his steaks.
You know it.
Yeah. Now, see, as a non-meat eater, but I'm a fan of sides. What sides did you have?
So I had these scalloped potatoes with cheese on top, but they came in this little cast iron bowl, and they were like sizzling when they came out. But then I added another side.
What was that?
Lobster mac and cheese.
Oh.
And this wasn't your mama's mac and cheese.
No.
These are like big shells with this creamy, delicious, like 4 cheese blend with big bits of lobster tail in it. The shell was off. Thank God. But yeah, just ate, dude. So hungry. So
bread? Did you get like a roll or something?
Oh yeah, they had these cool rolls that were like 5 rolls in a circle. They were like white rolls, and then right in the middle was a dark, like a wheat roll, but it was like almost like the color of chocolate. It was wonderful, and they got the butter with a little bit of rosemary. It was a real 5-star dinner. So good. Smoked a lot of weed. Ate some edibles before bed every night. The last night, so this is my thing. Go ahead.
Who'd you share? Who'd you room with?
I roomed with Aaron Pierce.
There you go.
But what was really cool was our hotel rooms had a living room and 2 private bedrooms. Yeah, suites with doors that closed, and we each had our own bathroom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and they were cheap hotels. Like, we usually stay in the hotel that's connected to the convention center, and these hotel rooms are, like, ridiculously expensive. Like, a couple grand a night. These were, like, a third of the price of that, or maybe even a fourth of the price of that. Had our own suites. It was a nice little walk to and fro. It was like 73 degrees and sunny the whole time. No wind. Beautiful.
Meanwhile, it was like 12 degrees here.
Yeah, I saw some photos when I was gone. I was like, oh man,
it fucking sucked.
Do not miss that.
No.
But so here was my regimen. Every morning, I get up, take a shower, go down to the breakfast buffet.
Was it a good one?
It was a good one.
It wasn't one of those shitty Continentals where you get like a plastic bowl of Fruit Loops and a banana?
No, it was a full-fledged breakfast, man, like a good breakfast. But what I would do, you see, because I knew late at night I'd get a little munchies going on.
I know what you did.
So there were these danishes that they had down there, and they were like filled with like some of them had strawberries inside, some had apple inside, and then some had
cream cheese Danish.
and then some had the cream cheese inside. What I would do is when I was done eating breakfast every morning, I would go get one of those styrofoam bowls, and I'd put about 4 of those jokers in there, and they're not huge, size of a biscuit maybe. I'd take them up and put them in the fridge in the room. Then at night, when the raccoon came out in me,
a little treat for later,
I'd go and I'd eat them in bed. So my regimen was get up, get ready, maybe take a little pufferoo with a vape pen, maybe 2, have a nice morning walk over to the convention center, just, talk about pedals all day, film a little bit here and there. And then at night, we'd go out to dinner, or we usually have like something to do after the show. And then I go back to the room when it was time to go to bed, pop an edible, lay down, sleep like a baby. Well, the last night, I had quite a few of these edibles left. They come in packs. I ate 2.
Ooh.
And they were 20 milligram edibles.
Fucking you Joey Diaz.
Yeah, I Diaz'd hard, dude. I ate 40 milligrams of edibles.
Jesus.
And felt like I was fucking floating in bed. Like,
Nice.
I felt like I was like straight up levitating above the bed.
Perhaps you were.
I might have been.
Could
It
have been.
was wonderful though. I had a great time, but I'm so glad to be back. We have a wonderful guest. What's up, man?
How are you feeling? Did you? I know you came. So you came home last night.
Yeah.
You missed your connecting flight.
Yes, I did.
Which is whack.
Yeah.
So you came home late, and you were talking about how, like the day before, you thought that you'd missed it, like missed the NAMM Thrax.
Yeah.
But then last night you said you weren't feeling that great. But right now it seems like you feel fine.
Tip top.
Nice.
Feeling good.
So you did dodged a bullet there.
I did feel like, oh crap. Because every year, I mean, here's the deal. It's so loud in there. I mean, it's literal chaos going on in there.
Yeah.
So you have people like leaning in to talk to you all day, and you're just being spit on.
Right.
Because people are yelling. You get a rogue particle in your eye, or you can feel it on your cheek.
And not to mention, like, you're dealing with a product that people are touching
all day, every day. And so I thought, oh shit, I missed the NAMM Thrax this year. Yes. And then last night, I started coughing and stuff, and I was like, fuck, it was just delayed. But yeah, I woke up today, slept in, had the day off work, thankfully, and slept in. But I'm feeling good. I was very sore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a great show. But I tell you what, I was like, I did an ultimate dad move the second night there. I soaked my feet in the bathtub.
Wow.
I've never soaked a foot in my life.
Now, when you say soak, did you like go to the CVS, get you some Epsom salt?
No. The poor man's soak. Just hot water.
Nice.
Yeah,
just right above the ankle.
Your feet wet.
Just right above the ankle of hot water.
Yeah, I rolled my pants up, stuck
Huck
those.
Finn.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
take your pants
No.
off.
And I sat on the edge of the bathtub and was just like looking at my phone, and I soaked those bad boys for probably like 30 minutes in the hottest water known to man.
Did it feel good?
Yeah, I had lobster feet, dude. I pulled my feet out, and there was a line on my calf, and
Nice.
they were the color of a newborn pig, that pinkish white.
Yeah.
Oh man, but it felt good.
See, I'm not a bath boy. I'm a showerman. But sometimes I wish I was a bath boy because I get aches and pains. I'm an old man.
Take a bath, bro.
But I just want to soak my
Take
body.
a bath. Take a bath.
All right.
My
my bath is tiny.
Doesn't matter. You're not a big guy.
I guess.
You're a little fella. Soak, dude. Soak it up. Baths are the best.
Oh, I used to do Epsom salt soaks like a fucking grandpa. You feel great.
Yeah. Is it true that Epsom salt makes you shit, though?
What? If you drink it.
Yeah, because some people drink it, right?
Yeah, to make them shit.
Okay. I was wondering, like, would you shit by proxy of it, like, soaking through your
bloodstream?
skin?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, did you shit
No.
after that?
No. I've never shit.
Huh.
Ever.
Oddly enough, yeah.
Wow.
Holding
Maybe
it in.
You should suck on some Epsom salt then.
Seriously.
So
You didn't
shit.
trip shit?
I'll do an Epsom salt enema. No, I shit. Of course I shit every day.
Hotel shits.
Oh, yeah. A nice solitary hotel dump. Wonderful.
Are hotel shits anything like hotel sex where you just like give the most shit that you can?
Right, and you're loud.
Yeah, you have the door wide open. You're shitting butt ass naked at like 2 p.m.
Oh,
like
man.
just
No,
like
because
all
showers
stretched.
Yeah. Sorry, shitting in a hotel, it never fails. The way the toilet is set up, there's always a mirror either directly to your right, left, or in front of you on the door.
Yeah, treat yourself. Watch.
Not this one.
Oh, really?
No, it had a door to shut to the bedroom, and then your bathroom was to the left, and then there was a door for the shower and shitter. So I had
it's
double
separate.
doors.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
like Fort Knox in there, dude. I was locked up tight, just growling one out. It was
Nice.
wonderful. But yeah, it was great, but I'm glad to be back. We have a very special guest tonight. But first, a little business. BoysPodcast.com. It's a hub of all things boys. There you will find links to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as a golden donate button. If you're feeling generous, shoot us a few bucks. Once again, that's BoysPodcast.com.
Boys is available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're there.
There
Guess
for
what?
you, babe.
Always there for you. Leave a review on iTunes. Help us rise to the top a little bit. Subscribe where you can subscribe. And like Robbie said, donate. Hey, it's tax season. You know, you get a write-off. I'm sure you can probably write off your donation to Boys.
Just do it. What could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Are they going to put you in jail? Maybe.
Email us at boys@boyspodcast.com. Shoot us a little feedback. Tell us how we're doing. If you do that, we'll send you some of our new stickers that we've got.
Thank you to our sponsors, Anthem Brewing. From the jump, they've been there for us, just like we're there for you. AnthemBrewing.com. Josh is cracking a foamy one right now.
Oh, man, I haven't had that happen. That never happens, I promise.
AnthemBrewing.com, the foamiest beer this side of the Mississippi.
I like it really good and shook up. That's how you know it's a good beer.
Dylan made that trek today. He went and grabbed the beers, went and said hi to Jesse, made an appearance, got our allotment. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Anthem. Also,
we got a new one that we haven't tried.
Oh, yeah, what is that?
This is the Power Pills. So
Now Power Pills used to be that was their 3-2 beer that they would sell like in not grocery stores, but places where you could only sell 3-2 beer.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went away, and they had the OK Pills, which is a stronger version of it.
Yeah.
Power Pills, though, man, this is one of those you can
tastes good.
knock back a few after mowing the lawn, even though it's shoveling the fucking snow now.
Yeah.
Mowing that winter lawn.
Yeah. And they say 3-2, but I was told
Maybe a little on
they're
the high
closer
side.
to
Here,
4.
alcohol by weight and by volume are two totally different things,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you.
Oh,
kinda
do
scale.
tell.
Oh, well, actually.
No, I seriously want to know.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm serious.
I'll tell you, I'm a little too loopy.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Also, Fat Bison, fatbison.com, friend of the show, friend of us, friend of you, friend of wood. He loves wood.
Anything he loves more than wood is giving you a deal. So go to fatbison.com.
And mention Boys. He makes high-quality wooden signs, furniture, knickknacks, adornments, accoutrement. Is that how you say it? Accoutrement?
Yeah.
Adornments.
He makes adornments for your home. You know those beautiful like live, laugh, love signs at Hobby
those
Lobby?
great signs.
Nothing like that.
No.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Check them out at fatbison.com. If you email him for a quote, like Josh said, mention Boys, you might get a little discount.
Champion Vintage OKC on Instagram, champion_vintage_OKC. I think there's not another one, but that's it. Go to their Instagram page, check out all their shit, send them a message, order something.
A message.
A message.
Send them a message.
Send them a message, and they'll give you 10%
trapper?
off. I'm a trap rapper.
What is Champion Vintage? For those that are, this is their first episode.
What Champion Vintage is, it's a local vintage, I guess, retailer ran by 2 lovely ladies. You're helping out women who run a business.
I love to help women. Open doors for them. I just open doors. Just go around opening doors.
Butter their bread.
Oh, yeah. Is that a euphemism?
Butter their
Okay.
bread.
It can be.
But no, they have clothing, housewares, shoes, which I guess would fall into the clothing category.
Yeah.
More or less.
Art, all kinds of stuff. Check it out.
They have a pretty dope collection of just belt buckles
Mm-hmm.
that I've noticed that are pretty cool.
Well, listen, Valentine's Day is right around the corner.
That's true.
If you're searching for a belt buckle for the love of your life,
Yeah,
they got you covered.
they do.
Much like your midsection.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Champion Vintage OKC.
Lastly, thank you for the donations, the feedback, and most importantly, the telling of a friend. This podcast is all about word of mouth. We don't pay for advertising. We are not part of a network yet. We are just 3 guys, 3 buddies, just buddying. Use the buddy system. Tell a friend. There's power in numbers. There's power in boys.
That sounds
Right?
and girls.
And true. Equality. We're all about equality. So tell a friend. We're woke. We're gonna welcome Trent Ratterree tonight. We're gonna get into some shit. Maybe have a talk. Maybe not. We might just sit here in silence.
What a great episode that would be.
Yeah.
Just
Might
an
be our
hour and a
best.
half of silence.
Be our best yet.
Gets the most downloads. I'm like, all right, we get the message. Fuck you.
Would that be a sign to hang it up?
I mean, we would still keep going, I'm sure, but
I would like if it was an hour and a half of silence with the occasional
Just an anthem cracking every now and
just
then.
some of these.
a fart.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that.
We're getting there.
I feel like if that happened, like if we got the most downloads on a silent episode, the show would run the fuck off the rails.
It's artsy.
It's like, oh, okay. You guys don't want to hear us talk? Well, we're going to talk about awful things.
And then we would just mass suicide ourselves.
Well, is it mass if it's only 3?
Oh, well,
Technically, I think it has to be like 5 or 6.
that's just a group. That's just a small group of sad people.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Let's see. What this is going to be a fun thing to Google.
Yeah.
Google. Hey, that's not going to put you on any kind of a list.
I'm on a list.
Yeah.
Right.
Dylan's on many lists.
So,
That was the NAMBLA thing.
What?
He was on it. He's a member.
Oh.
Nope.
No. Can I be a member?
Yeah, man.
It's just men who love boys. There's nothing wrong with that.
And what are we?
We're boys.
Huh? Here's
Okay.
the show.
There we go. I need a number. This is a lot of
Oh, we're
silence.
still recording. I'm so sorry. Okay, so let's see. I can talk through this. Historical mass suicides. That's not what I'm looking for. I just need to see.
The number. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
10.
10?
It's got to be double digits and up.
Yeah, maybe.
I think if 9 people killed themselves, that would be a mass suicide.
Sure.
I think 8.
Hey, you know what? If 140 people did it, that'd be a mass suicide. You know, it's not going to be. We're not going to suicide this episode.
No.
Episode 140. Trent Ratterree.
All right, we're here with Trent Ratterree. And thank you so much for coming tonight, man. Really appreciate it. We were discussing suicide before you showed up. The drink.
Oh,
You remember that?
Yeah.
Where you get like all of the soda pops.
that's it.
In one cup. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. That term's kind of problematic now, right?
I think it kind of always was.
But that's what we called it. Like, I'm just getting a suicide where you basically take like a Coke, a Dr. Pepper, a Sprite, whatever shitty other drink is.
like a strawberry Fanta, something like that.
Yeah.
A Welch's grape,
yeah.
perhaps.
And you usually do it like at a movie theater that has their own thing, or
Well, I always did it after my baseball games growing up. We'd run to the concession stand. You got your team drink after the game, win or lose. You get that sweet, sweet team soda. And I just remember all these kids being like, "I want a suicide."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's just sounds
Creepy,
like a
right?
Marilyn Manson intro."
Yeah,
or
that's not
something.
even you making it. That's the
Yeah.
lady. That's the girl behind the counter at the booster stand. That's what it was called, right? The booster stand.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get like your shitty nachos and then a suicide, please.
Yeah.
You
really
drink
don't.
like 2 sips of it and then you throw it out.
You don't want a bunch of kids walking around saying, "I want a suicide."
Right, yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's like
but
Children of
we
the
did.
Corn-esque,
Yeah,
you know.
if they all start chanting it in unison, there's really a
That's
problem.
when you leave.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to get out of this
Especially-
fucking Pizza Hut.
I want a suicide. I want a suicide.
Oh, speaking of Pizza Hut, I do remember hand in hand with the childhood suicide was also the book it book club.
Oh yeah, man.
You'd read books, you'd get little stars on a punch card or something. Then
No,
you'd
it was on a pin, like a big pin, like
That's
a
right.
2-inch button.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then they'd have the stars would go around the thing, around the book, and like a halo kind of a thing. And when you got that filled up,
personal pan, baby.
a PP.
Yeah, oh,
You
I
know,
love it.
I always had problems with that program. I don't know if you can tell from my stature, but I was a larger kid.
You were tall.
Yeah.
Weird.
And I ate a lot, and I would go and get my reward, and the pizza was about like a third of the amount of pizza I could actually eat.
Yeah, for you,
Yeah.
for you it's
And
like
so
that
I was
shitty,
like,
easy
oh,
bake pizza,
yeah.
like a tiny,
And my
like,
parents were like, "Oh, what the hell?" Because they still had to buy like a large pizza
Yeah.
to fill me up.
You're
so
a
it
grown
was
boy,
like,
though. Yeah, you require more pizza.
But it was like it was like an appetizer for me. I
Yeah,
would eat
right.
that and then, continue on.
I feel like that'd be cool for you though, because I mean, if you think about it, you're like, man, these aren't enough to fill me up. I guess I got to read more books. You are the most literate fucking
Yeah.
like middle school, elementary school
just
kid
know-
there, dude.
you have a bunch of different book it buttons that are all filled up, and you just cash them all in at once.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in
You're like,
a little bag with a dollar sign on it. You drop it on the
Yeah,
right.
and they're like, "Sir, we don't have this amount of
Yeah.
personal pan pizzas.
No,
I'm sorry,
listen.
we can only give you half of those."
Yeah, we
what
only
I would
have
like to do, can I
60.
cash in 6 of these buttons for one medium pizza,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
It's like getting upgraded on a flight. It's like, can I just put these together? Like you take your
right.
punch card to the Euro place, and it's like, can I marry these two so I can
Yeah.
get my free Euro, please?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So in a way, the program worked because
Yeah.
I read a lot
Yeah.
and then still, ate significantly small amounts of pizza.
Yeah,
So-
reward
Small
young
amounts
children.
of small pizzas.
Reward young children with something that's terrible for you. Pizza's not good for you.
Oh, but it's so delicious.
It's great.
It is.
What's your favorite food, Trent?
My favorite food? Oh man, I would have to say I really like Cajun food quite a bit. Like,
Have you been to Cajun King?
Just about to say that.
I have, but not in a while. And so,
it's the idea is great.
yeah.
I saw a commercial for it like on late night, local TV or
oh
something.
shit, they have commercials.
Yeah, and they're about what you'd expect. And I was like, oh man, that's great. I want to go. And I've been a handful of times. The first time I went, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. The catfish strips they bring out are pretty dope.
Yeah, it's like other people bring breadsticks, but apparently at Cajun King you get like catfish.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
do not
that's
fuck with bread.
Well, it's
that's
a bottom
incredible.
feeder. It's a bottom feeder.
it was delicious though.
still
Yeah.
good.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it comes with like this, it's like a honey mustard type sauce. I'm not exactly sure what it's butter in there or
Huh.
something, but that's great. The buffet, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not to shit on Cajun King, but it's all right.
When I heard of Cajun King and what it is, it's like, oh, it's Cajun food. Oh, but it's a buffet. I'm like, Cajun buffet? That's like,
Listen,
you're
man.
asking for D. That's just,
they've got the red beans and rice.
Sure.
They got the crawfish etouffee.
They got gumbo?
You
They've
got me
got
there.
gumbo.
Yeah.
And they got frog legs
Ooh.
on buffet.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you should try one.
I'm going there after this, actually.
right
Yeah.
over. Just one personal pan pizza and a punch card for Cajun King.
A pizza and then frog legs?
Yeah,
a frog leg pizza, bro.
You lay a bed of pizza, and then you top it off with a
or
big
you,
amount of Cajun
or
King.
you fold that personal pan in half like a taco and you dunk it in like the gumbo.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
drop some of those catfish strips in there.
Wow.
Now we're cooking.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah,
like,
it
why have I
does.
never done this?
Yeah. Now you went to OU.
Yeah.
Do you remember? How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 30.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just turned 30 in November. So.
Cool. Do you remember Fat Sandwich?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
They were open my first 2 years at OU.
Okay.
And then they closed. But
Place ruled.
the best thing about Fat Sandwich that I ever got, which I didn't get the donut sandwich or anything, their cheeseburgers, which this sounds insane probably, they were so good.
Just
Really?
a plain cheeseburger?
Yeah, just the cheeseburger. I mean, it was, I don't know what they put on that grill, but it
Everything.
was, yeah.
Like it's
And
just
so
a
it's like
mixture.
all those flavors,
Yeah.
like everything from every other sandwich.
We were actually had a whole weekend of talking about burgers. My wife and I went to Tulsa for my birthday, and on the way back we took like the 75, I guess, and went to all these small towns. There's all these like little burger shops that have been there since like the 60s, and she wants to do this thing where she goes to all these burger stands and have burgers because best fucking burgers at a roadside thing.
Right.
Mhm.
But
We got a real Guy Fieri on our
there's
hands over here.
a little place in Oklahoma City
Mm-hmm.
that quote unquote has the best burger in town, and it's called the Red Dog.
Do they have a
No.
good burger?
Wait,
I've heard
strip
tale-
club? Is that what
yeah.
you're talking about?
I've heard tell
burgers?
that Red Dog
What?
has the best burger in town, and
Huh?
you can see some titties.
I feel like
Did the
that-
Red Dog give you a sponsorship or something?
Seriously.
Is that what's happening here?
dude, coolest sponsorship, right?
Am I the only one who's heard that?
I've never heard it, but I could see that as like, under the sign there. But I haven't been to a strip club in many, many years, but it's kind of a rite of passage for some guys. They turn 21, their friends take them there. You kind of want to just like get that novelty out of the way to say
Yeah.
you've done it. I'm not against them, but I just don't care about going to them these days. But when I was 21, 22, I went a handful of times.
Well,
never eaten.
Norman Sugars.
No.
Did they serve food?
I hope not.
I don't
That's a really.
think so.
Have you ever been to Sugars?
I unfortunately have,
Right.
but the memory's hazy because that's usually the time you go to Sugars, I guess.
Yeah.
End of the night, like you've
Yeah.
done something else, and then you go over there and it's just like a sad dungeon. It's just like dark and smelly,
As
and
opposed to a happy dungeon.
And one girl's
Yeah.
like pregnant. One girl's missing a leg.
Well, and imagine you're just a patron, like they work there. You
Yeah,
know?
they're
So it's
all-
like,
yeah.
I just can't imagine.
And that's the
Yeah.
nighttime crowd.
right. That's their
Daytime
A team.
Yeah, it's 18.
Ugh.
If just my last only thing about hamburgers. Next time you go to Tulsa,
Mhm.
have you ever been to Arnold's on the west side of Tulsa?
No. Put that
Dude,
on the list.
It is straight fire, dude. Like I lived like 5 minutes away from it. It's real close to my house, and it is your classic like 50s diner. And every now and then they still have these like these dudes with like old classic cars will like go to Arnold's, park their cars,
Right.
eat some cheeseburgers, but their cheeseburgers are awesome, their fries are amazing, and their chocolate shakes.
Because they have the tots.
Wow.
No, I
That's
don't
the
think
Red
they have
Dog.
tots.
They don't have tots.
Yeah.
A
I love it.
classic burger daddy driving a classic car, taking his like wife of 40 years
Right.
to eat a burger on like a Sunday afternoon.
Is
can't
Burger
wait
Daddy
to
an
be that.
archetype that I've missed?
It
I
is
didn't
now.
realize.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's my thing, man. I want that. Like, I want to have like a 57 Chevy
Right.
and go to a I don't know. It's just, there's something.
Just go down and get you a malted.
When I was a kid,
you know?
you see that at like Sonic when you were a kid, like dads pulling in and their cars like lame. But as I get older, I'm like, man, that dude's fucking got it
Yeah,
made.
dude. Yeah, he's got it made to order in
Yeah.
his classic car.
So, have you ever heard of a little place called Burger Street?
Yeah.
So it's actually a local fast food place in
Yeah.
Tulsa. He started Burger Street. He started Taco Mayo,
Mhm.
and what's the other? It's the one.
What kind of food is it?
It's another Mexican food place that's fast food, but it was for kids though. It's I think
Fast food?
South Park did a thing on it.
Weird.
What is it? Oh man, I
guess
can't remember the name. I'm blanking on it right now, but so he created these 3 fast food restaurants. And they only exist in Tulsa and like Arlington and Denver.
Okay.
And so Burger Street, that Tulsa is like one of the only places you can get it in this whole, like in the whole country. And so
Well, let me ask you, how are the burgers?
they're incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally the best burger I've ever had.
They're real good. And
Yeah.
like they're so small. They're all tiny. They're like itty bitty. If you go inside of one of those, there's like 4
You can go
tables.
inside.
No, there's like 4 seats.
That's right. 'Cause-
Oh, wow.
And the only
Yeah.
seats they're like on the sides,
Mhm.
right?
It's bar seating,
all
basically.
bar seating
Yeah.
wrapped around, and really, it's for you to. It's a drive-in. That's
Yeah,
I mean,
or-
that's what you want.
Or like
Yeah.
it's that classic 50s, 60s where you get it and you sit at the table outside. You're supposed to eat it and then get the fuck out.
I'm
Yeah.
eating in my
Yeah,
57 Chevy, man.
Yeah.
Or you do that. Yeah.
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 It reminds me of growing up. Like my dad loves Sonic, which I'm just not a big Sonic fan.
Uh-oh.
In a
That's
pinch.
blasphemy.
I know.
being
I
from
know.
Oklahoma. I mean,
I know. They lost me when they started up in their marketing game and having like the girl
Those two
from The
funny
Office
guys?
in there. Well, then now they have the girl from 30 Rock and the girl from Ellie from The Office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, man, they're dropping some cash to get
So,
these celebs on there.
you know, Arby's bought Sonic.
Yeah,
Wah, wah.
really?
Yeah.
Is it Casa Bonita?
Casa Bonita. Yeah.
Oh, is that the one that was off the highway?
yeah. Yeah.
Over by like Yale.
Yeah. And it's like a little, it's like a, child, like a party in, I don't.
Yeah, there's one in Tulsa and there's one in the
Yeah.
city. The one in the city did not last very long, but I guess the guy also did Crystal's Pizza, which was the shit.
The one in
Yeah.
Tulsa, like, it lasted for a really long time. I remember, like, being a kid for, like, years. We would go there every now and then. And the cool thing about that place is you're totally right. It was for kids because different places in the restaurant were set up to look like different environments. Like, my favorite one was, like, the cave. Do you remember that?
No, so I don't think this is the sad part is that my parents never took me there.
Oh.
And so I've only heard secondhand accounts.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was
And have
very cool.
dreamed
Yeah.
of going
Tell me
back.
again about when you went with your parents to Casa Bonita.
Tell me about the cave.
Please.
Tell me
Yeah,
about
it's
the
like,
cave.
yeah.
Tell me
was
about the
cool.
chips.
Yeah, I loved it, man.
Chips.
They had chips, right?
I hate to be sad on your podcast, but yeah.
No, man.
Yeah.
No, I think I went to Casa Bonita once, and it was a field trip. Same with Crystal's Pizza. Everybody talks all the time, like, go to Crystal's Pizza all the time. Like, dude, fuck no. Mazzio's is where I got to go.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, field trips, if, you're go downtown for a thing, like, we'll go to Crystal's Pizza. There's that pirate ship in there.
I loved that place. I probably only went 5 times in my childhood, but
Never even heard of it.
dude, it was a magical pizza place. I don't remember if it was a buffet or if it was like you ordered at the counter and then go sit down. I can't remember that because I was too obsessed with the video games.
Yeah, the arcade.
Yeah. They had a movie theater inside there, but it was like an old school movie theater that showed like old black and white racist Disney cartoons and stuff. Like, and then they had a pirate ship inside. And inside the pirate ship was where all the video games were.
Like in the gully. That's not a fucking
That's
word.
incredible.
It was amazing.
Inside the ship.
Yeah,
that part.
The bow,
No.
the belly, the
hull.
the hull.
The whole.
There we go.
So I think it's safe to say what went wrong with America is that we've lost these places. Like,
Absolutely.
Like we don't have
100%. Well, because those were owned by apparently a dude, and there was a couple locations, but they weren't like widespread. So if you had it, you cherished it.
Yeah.
And now everything is so like franchised out and like chain restaurants. It's kind of hard to like to connect with a place. You know what I mean?
It's like I can't connect with a Zaxby's.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
No.
it's chicken.
Yeah.
Where's the mermaids?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it sucks because like those little restaurants, like stuff like that, like you go there not because you have to pick something up on your way home, but because it's a dope ass place. Like I want to eat,
Right.
a burrito in a cave.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
It's
stuff
incredibly
like
who's not excited about
that.
that? Like
That's so cool. But
Well,
but
do you remember the
now-
cave drawings of like the cavemen eating burritos?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what the whole
awesome.
thing was based off of.
Right.
It's so sick.
Historically accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, no, it made it like a destination. Like I remember being a kid and like Friday night, we'll go to Crystal's. You go to a restaurant that's an experience, not just sit down, get your food, eat, and get out.
Yeah.
It's always like there's something more to it than just that. Like Molly Murphy's, some shit like that.
That was another weird classic from my childhood. I only went one time. Strangest place. Like all the waiters and waitresses were like in character. Like there was like a James Dean and a Marilyn Monroe and a Humphrey Bogart and all this stuff.
it's like Pulp Fiction.
It was totally like
Wow.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was exactly like
Did
that.
you do the twist or
No.
No,
Well, yeah,
twisting?
vanilla and chocolate cone, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you. But the waiters and waitresses, they were also kind of like jerks. Like it was one of those places where the waiters and waitresses would kind of be dickheads to you, like in a fun way.
Like Dick's, the restaurant Dick's.
Exactly.
So it was very realistic for the celebrities, I guess, because that's probably how they would treat you in real life,
I
right?
mean, imagine Marilyn Monroe bringing you a shake.
Should
Like,
be pissed about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, she'd be furious. Like, what am I doing here? Why? Yeah.
My whole career leads up to me giving this kid a twist cone.
well, hers actually turned out a little worse. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's true.
She was suicided.
Is that even a thing?
Yeah,
this is
dude.
Being suicided?
being suicided?
Yeah.
Okay, Rob, you're not into the conspiracy theory world.
I'm not.
Being suicided is a thing. Albert McClendon was suicided. There's so many people who've been suicided.
Okay,
Like
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm
There's
not up
a
on this
Yeah.
whole
conspiracy
conspiracy
theory.
about what is his name? Lead singer for Linkin Park.
Chester
Chester,
Bennington.
Yeah, he was suicided because he found out about some
Pedophilia ring.
in like the music industry, and he was friends with the lead singer for Soundgarden.
Chris Cornell.
Why can't I remember these dudes' names?
Yeah,
I love Chris Cornell.
Chris Cornell and his wife started a charity for for pedophiles.
They were like
Not for
those-
pedophiles.
Yeah.
Against charity.
Wait, I was like, whoa, that's
He deserves to die.
but he was supposedly suicided as well for the same reason. That,
I'm gonna look it up tonight in my
so. It sounds like y'all are saying like suicided means someone murdered you.
Someone murders you and it makes it look like a suicide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the first time I've heard of
Really?
this.
Same.
Yeah,
Go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the conspiracy theories like that, like they're fun to think about. Like, oh, that'd be neat, like fan fiction.
Yeah.
But then some people they just go down just way too far down the rabbit hole where it's like, nope, that's it, and it's all interconnected. They're all molesting children. That's the big thing. They want their blood. The blood keeps them young.
All right, you're Alex Jonesing now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Totally.
I think basically what you're describing is like someone reads so much information that like truth and like non-truth becomes like so muddy that
Yeah,
And
fun.
there's
everything seems connected.
There's
or
a
like
word for that. It's called psychosis.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Clinically insane.
Yes.
So were you born in Oklahoma?
Yeah. So,
Speaking of insane,
Segue.
Now you
That
mentioned
was a good
Tulsa.
segue.
Were you from Tulsa? originally?
no,
Okay.
actually,
You just went there for the cave.
yeah,
Okay.
and for Burger Street, but
Sweet.
yeah, that's the only reason I've not really. It's not. But no, I was born in Clinton, Oklahoma, but was raised in Weatherford. So that's back in 1988, and my
year.
parents are from Texas. My dad from East Texas, my mom from West Texas.
And they just met in the middle and went straight north.
They met more in East Texas.
Oh, okay.
Down in Texarkana. They were both in lab school, and
Wow.
he was
Labrador school. They were training dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was a chemist, and she was a med tech, and he followed the oil field up here as a chemist, and was in Weatherford when the last oil bust happened, or at least the third to last oil bust happened. And so, so he went through, or my family went through all of that, with banks and
Right.
losing their money. And, but yes, they decided to stick around. Luckily, he had that lab, was able to land softly and be a med tech. And
Nice.
so they both worked in Indian Health Service. And so I grew up, around the Cheyenne Arapaho tribe quite a bit.
Oh, cool.
Going to powwows and stuff. And,
Nice.
but yeah, it was really interesting to be raised by, when I call them scientists, they actually try to argue with me. And I'm like, no, shut up. You're
That's
a
some
fucking
scientist
scientist.
shit.
Like,
Yeah, just take the
you
compliment.
literally do science on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So like,
So
You do that for money.
So where does the Mennonite thing come in?
all right.
I'm
so
fascinated by this.
Yeah.
I want deets though.
I'm glad you asked, because I was pretty excited to talk about it. Because not a lot of people know about it. So
Okay, explain. I'm a idiot. So would you just explain
Yeah.
it from...
I don't think you're an idiot for the record, but
How I know about Mennonites is that great Weird Al parody song, Amish Paradise.
Oh,
We're all crazy Mennonites.
Okay.
God.
All right. I'm putting the lines together.
Yeah,
yeah,
All
we
right.
hate that song. So
Obviously.
no, I'm just kidding. But no, so come on a journey with me here, I guess. No,
I'll hop in
so
the buggy and
but no, so me and my mother went to a church in Weatherford that was Mennonite Brethren, and we went because that's where her best friend went. So Mennonite Brethrens are a little bit different than your regular Mennonites, I guess. So Mennonitism, I guess, started in Ukraine under a guy. Forgive me if I get his first name wrong, but I think it's like Joseph Minnow. And so it was like this small movement. They were persecuted basically out of Ukraine and moved into Germany. When they got to Germany, the Mennonites separated with the other group that was following them for ideological differences. So the other group, this group of Germans, started a group called Mennonite Brethren. So they're basically, the brethren of
Right.
the main movement. And they were a liberal branch off, although still pretty ultra conservative.
Sure.
They just, didn't force women to wear bonnets and,
Right.
ankle length denim dresses, I guess. But
they're the
not to be
partiers of like the
stereotypical.
Amish community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then they all came to the U.S., separately. And these Germans decided to settle in western Oklahoma and southwest Kansas because the prairie and the grasslands reminded them of where they started in Germany. And so it was this small group of people with, there's like certain family names, I guess, that were like the beginning people that brought it over.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so there's kind of this long German culture embedded in that church. So I got to grow up, and they had like a German festival every year and get to eat, I don't
Schnitzel.
Yeah. And a lot of different, no beer though, which was sad, but I was also a kid. So
yeah,
it would have been no beer anyway.
Right.
Well, in Germany, what can you legally drink in Germany at like 15 or something, or 14?
I don't know.
So they actually, I think, they actually do have parties in junior high, but they limit the amount that they drink, but they get to have like a beer or something.
So it's like your dad giving you a sip.
Yeah. Basically.
You're not getting drunk, but hey, your mom ain't looking here.
And you may not get a full pint. You may get like an American pint.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Beer junior,
But,
yeah.
Yeah. But it's an interesting history. And the cool thing about going to that church was that they would go through that history every year. We would have like one day where they would tell everyone that story because, new people were coming in that were not in those German families.
Right.
And so they didn't really know exactly the history behind it. Like the town of Corn actually was started by these folks from Germany, the Mennonite Brethren. And it was Corn, Korn, actually.
Like the band.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But they
Now we're
changed it
rocking.
around World War I because of, anti-German sentiment. They changed it to CORN.
Oh, wow.
And so there's just like a really interesting,
Josh is spilling over here.
These beers are foamy.
So that's the church I grew up in. And I was extremely active until college.
Okay.
I actually delivered some sermons at the age of 16 in front of the main congregation.
How large was the congregation?
Oh, we probably averaged like 350 people.
Good night.
So
Wow.
I was
That
like
is
16
nuts.
years old talking in front of 350 people about, my vision of,
Right.
what God, I guess, had for us.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. You said that they were like kind of a more liberal sect of this. What was your day-to-day like? Like what was your services like? Or what made it special to you guys that wasn't like, because I was raised in like a Baptist church growing up. My grandma was an evangelical Christian. So I was raised when I was really young in some like pretty out there stuff, laying of hands, speaking in tongues, pretty terrifying shit for a kid, to be honest.
Right.
And then when I got older, my parents started going to a Baptist church and I was just like, man, this is easy, and way less scary.
Right.
Yeah.
However, the first pastor that we had in our Baptist church, I remember he was one of those real like hellfire and brimstone guys. Like, you're going to hell if you don't do this,
Yeah.
which was also terrifying. But then as I got older and, started going to youth group, but it was pretty, your basic white bread, run of the mill, Southern Baptist, whatever. So explain to me, like, what were some things that set this apart from?
So honestly, one of the things that I always appreciated about them was the hellfire and brimstone message was not really present.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. What they kind of believed was that when Jesus came back, he kind of closed off that bridge to hell, so to speak, or that choice. And so it was like, as long as you believed, then you're basically good, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a cool thing, because there wasn't really that fear message.
Mm-hmm.
They were also really good at tuning into what we wanted as teenagers. So, I mean, a lot of the events that we would go to in the youth group were, some of the, like we've talked about personally, how the kind of screamo stuff kind of came out of these church bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were really good at tuning into what we wanted. And so we had access to that. And so that was kind of cool to find your own and not feel like you're in this, like, button up type environment where you have to be completely straight edge, I guess.
So you guys would go to like Christian shows and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was like 14 or 15 years old, we went to what was supposed to be, I guess, Five Iron Frenzy's last show. And it was at what is now Frontline Church. And the crazy thing about that is that I remember, and this may seem insignificant, but I remember we parked down 10th Street in a empty lot, which is probably what is now Fassler.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just like this empty, vacant lot. And then we walked down, and I was like, we have to walk so far, you know, but it's but it was literally like a block.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's like nothing.
Yeah.
The front line that's like right across from the garage. Like on like
it is. Yeah. It's to the east of Packard. Yeah.
So, and was it in the basement or in the actual sanctuary?
It was in the actual sanctuary.
Okay. So they did shows down in the basement. They did like was it Nick Stock down there?
Oh yeah, we went to that. Yeah, I stole your T-shirt. You did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I was super excited to like walk up those steps, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy!"
That sanctuary is beautiful.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and I mean, and we came to other shows. Do you remember the Green Door?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We went and saw Emery at the Green Door, like as a youth group, not a sanctioned event, but just us.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 16 or 17.
Your church friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Church
and
crew.
That show really opened my eyes because the band that opened for Emery was not a Christian band. And
was Emery Tecnique? I guess they were on Tooth and Nail. I was gonna say, were they a Christian band or were they that Christians in a band, which there was a lot of in like 2000 to 2005.
I think I would phrase it, they were a band on a Christian label. But yeah, I went to that, and I remember seeing, because I had never known that music other than listening to it. And so seeing the way people like danced and like flailing.
Oh yeah,
and
super energetic.
But the crazy thing is that they would sync up at one point. And so it was like, oh my gosh, like each individual's doing their own thing, but like they're really all doing the same thing. And it was just, I don't know, that was impressive to me.
Yeah, totally.
Because I was like 16 years old from Weatherford, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Did you ever get in and like?
I got in a little bit.
I was an edge dweller.
I always feel self-conscious about those things because like Diane likes to make fun of me about this, but I consider myself like an actual giant. And so when I get in on those, like people can push me, but if I happen to push, I push a little harder.
Yeah, well, you got to think about your own size and strength. You don't want to injure somebody. There's a lot of injuries in those pits, for sure.
And so I was just kind of taking care of people like, hey, you can like bounce off me. I'll hold you up, Yeah.
But, I can imagine you like spin kicking and like stomping the ground like that would be frightening.
But that was a revolutionary experience for me though, seeing that, because I didn't even know that existed, you know? And at the time, YouTube wasn't really like I couldn't have just looked it up, you know? So
we talk about that a lot on the show. Like we were like the last generation that grew up before the internet was completely abundant from when you were an adolescent. I grew up, I'm 37, almost 38 now. So I grew up, I didn't get AOL like dial-up internet until I was like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So I remember being, 13, 14, 15 and discovering things like that. And it was eye-opening because I was kind of the same way. Didn't listen to a lot of secular music until I got older. Now my dad listened to like country, so like I can sing every 90s country song like by heart, but not a lot of rock, no rap, nothing like that. And then as I got a little older and started like discovering, like I go to my friend's house and use the internet, this slow, ancient internet, and opening your eyes to these things, and like the early days of YouTube, or even before YouTube, where it was just message boards, and you'd click a link and a little flash player would come up, or like a real player, and you could watch videos and stuff. And it was a super eye-opening time. And then, I started getting into secular music after I quit going to church when I was about 16. And it was just like, whoa, where has this been my whole life?
Yeah.
And going to places like the Green Door, the Diamond Ballroom, and seeing these bands, whether they were metal bands or rock bands, alternative, whatever, ska bands, whatever, and just being like, wow, there's a whole new world out there for me that I never knew existed.
And that's something that I feel a little sorry for some of the teenagers now, is that like we had the Green Door and we had those things and those opportunities to see that. And, I don't think that I'm not really sure. I may be not up on it, but it seems like they maybe don't have the same opportunities we had to get out there and kind of express yourself and see something new.
Yeah, well, we've got like 89th Street Collective, which is in the spot where the Green Door was. That was the
location. Conservatory, right?
Well,
the original.
The Green Door was there,
okay.
and then it became the conservatory when the Green Door went downtown. And downtown now, that's the ACM Music Lab, which I don't really know if they're doing a lot of shows there anymore.
I think they're Dunsky.
Yeah, but I mean, me and my wife talk about this all the time. Like, where do they go? Or is it a whole different generation? They don't go to shows like rock music. Rock and roll has this. It always comes and goes in waves. And I think right now we're kind of at a point in time when rock and roll might be not dead, but it's like comatose. And we got like hip hop and all that's making it like a new resurgence, and that's cool.
It'll cycle back around.
It'll cycle back around.
Well,
And I think folk's in kind of the same flux, right? And this is something that I kind of joked about on my Twitter account the other day. Like, people are always talking about their brand, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that my brand is basically trying to convince people that like Kendrick Lamar and Childish Gambino are the modern day Woody Guthrie. And I think that's the flux, is that...
What do you mean by that? Because I noticed that, and I put that on my list of something I want to ask you about.
So I think that the reason why I say that is that I think that they are producing the protest music and the self-conscious music of what's happening in our society. And I think they actually have their finger on that pulse.
Right.
Because of a lot of the things that are happening, like racial tension and things like that are coming to a head right now.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, but to me, that's definitely what, like, the This Is America video that, like, took the world by storm.
Right.
And it's it's got a good beat, but this song, as a rap, I mean, he's a way better rapper than that song, but it's basically about all of that. Like,
yeah. And I think to get the full scope of that song, you have to watch the video.
Oh, for sure.
And so he's like, they're captivating people on every level that is possible now, today. Whereas I think with Woody Guthrie, he kind of did the same thing.
Right.
And also in Oklahoma, people really related to his message because they were, I mean, it was the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. I mean, people were living in literally whatever they could build or dig. And so I think that right now we're at a point of economic inequality and racial tension that Kendrick Lamar and Childish Gambino specifically, not exclusive to them, but I think they're kind of touching on the same message, and people get it for the most part, I think. But
yeah, I think they automatically look deeper into the music these days, whereas, not to speak out of turn because we weren't around back then, or we discover these things now through years and years of looking through lenses and historical accuracies and inaccuracies. But it's pretty evident that This Is America is like about what's fucked up.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like some of the older stuff like Dylan and stuff was a little more metaphorical, but it's super interesting. And you brought up, like racial tensions and things like that. And, we talked about this on the show so many times, like everything is so extreme these days. Like you're either a red hat wearing, tiki torch holding maniac, or you're this ultra liberal, aqua hair crying about everything. And there's like, it seems like the class of reasonable people seems to be, and maybe it's just the media, or maybe it's just your algorithms or whatever, but it seems like that part is shrinking, and like you're almost ostracized if you don't pick an extreme side.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of that is sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think a lot of that is the difference in political messaging. I mean, not to bring it back full circle, but, Jesus was, the image of Jesus, he started a political movement, him and John the Baptist. They didn't villainize the other side specifically. They didn't, necessarily say they're evil, but they were combating their policies. And they were sick of the overreach that the Roman Empire had at the time and what they were trying to do to the Jewish people. Whereas now, that's different than that. I think that a lot of the discourse is that if you're not with me, you're evil. Right. Yeah. And so you're seeing this polarization. And I think, frankly, one side I think uses it more than the other. And then I think the other side is pretty busy fighting with each other. And so you have this kind of imbalance of power that we're seeing.
Well, I've always kind of considered myself a liberal guy, but we've been talking about it, kind of half joking about it on the show. I keep hearing the term like the left is eating itself. And it, even though I consider myself a little left leaning, I'm still, moderate, but I can kind of see what people mean by that. Cause it's like, there's infighting, and it's not just like North versus South or, whatever, but it's like, if you're not super liberal, then you're not even like us and you're just as bad. It's like, I just don't understand why everything has to be like lumped into these major broad stroke categories these days. I don't know. And I wonder, like, what do you think? Do you think that the pendulum will swing? Because I feel like it's swinging pretty hard right now. I feel like it will always swing back. But part of me wonders, like, is there ever going to be a time where it gets stuck?
Right.
Or maybe not forever, but for a long time.
So I think the important thing to think of right now is we just had 8 years of our first African-American president in the United States, right? We have a horrific racial history. We're seeing people in our own backyard who seem to be fine with going out in blackface and using racial slurs openly on social networking platforms that they know can easily be shared. And actually, when you share something from Snapchat, the person knows.
Right.
So I think that what we're seeing is a culmination of kind of the people that don't necessarily agree with these changes, or they don't necessarily agree with progress, are becoming emboldened by a certain person, specifically, President Trump, I think, and his movement. And they're starting to speak out because they feel comfortable, right? But also I think they feel afraid that it's going to close in on them somehow, which is not true. I think that racial equality is tied with economic equality. And I think some of these folks don't realize where they fit in terms of economics, like on what they make per year.
Right.
Also, I think that with the Me Too movement, it's much of the same. We've had this horrific misogynistic history in our country. And so I think that it's changing. And the reason why we're seeing it so much now is not because it's increasing, but because it's always been there. And now they're speaking out.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, I like to phrase it, I guess, that it's the death throes of, misogyny and racism.
See, that's what I like. So the blackface thing that's been popping up recently in the news, and it's happened a couple of years ago too. I saw that, and my brain just immediately goes, there's no fucking way this is real. Like, it's teenagers, it's young people. It's not some old guys like, well, Al Jolson did it. It's kids, and it's like,
or it's like you'll see it pop. Not to cut you off, man, but like you'll see it pop up like sororities.
Yeah.
Or like there was a thing with the OU guys a few years ago where they were like saying that on an airplane or something, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like I'm a product of like the 80s and 90s. I said fag when I was a kid. I said that's gay. I don't think that makes me a terrible person, but it's like with social media and everybody's got a camera now. It's like I would never joke about that in public. Like, I'm not saying it's okay to do anytime, but I'm just saying like that ruins kids' lives. They're ruining their own lives.
Yeah. Like, but it's
so permanent.
I think what you said kind of hits that on the head of like, it's not that it's new or people are coming out like, oh no, I guess I'm racist. It's like, no, it's always been there and it's learned. It's not, you don't just like come out of the womb hating black people. Like that's something you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
But racism has infiltrated every institution in our society. So to pretend that you're immune from that, especially as, as a white man or a white woman, I think is ignorant, because you operate through those institutions like the criminal justice system or, anything really. And so it's so ingrained, you make these associations based off your experiences, also based off of the things people say to you. And so I think that people that's basically implicit bias is what I'm describing. And people are so unaware of their implicit bias that they make these expressions and then they're like, well, I'm not racist. I'm just, they're just saying what they've learned, but what they've learned is racism. And they're so unaware of that I guess it comes as a surprise from them. And they've tagged it with this like PC culture, which I don't know. I kind of disagree with that, but
it's such an easy out for people like that. Just to say like, well, you're too into like PC and like the whole like snowflake thing, like all of that. It's such an easy out, because like what you were talking about, just like growing up around like being taught racism. My parents weren't like racist. They weren't the best in terms of like how you should treat people around you. But people that I grew up with on like the west side of Tulsa were totally racist, like super racist. I was around it all the time.
Right.
And what blows my mind is I grew up around that. And I know that other people have grown up around that and then just choose to let that continue with them.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up around it and that shit is the worst. Mm-hmm. Like, I am not a racist. And I could have very well been just so easy, just from like letting it be around me and be like, oh, so I can just treat people like that and think like that and just be that way.
Were you saying like people growing up in it now or living in it now and kind of just being a bystander and not saying anything that we're talking about? Like,
well, not even that, not even not saying anything, but like if you grow up and like your friends think it's like cool to drop the N-bomb and like talk about people with that sort of phrase and then just continue to do it as you grow up. Like, yeah. I'm sure if like you're a young kid and just fucking dumb and you said it too, like because it was just around you and your friends or people that you're with like are totally cool with saying it because their parents did and blah blah blah. But there should be an age where you're like, this isn't right. And for some people, they just don't give a fuck. I feel like what it is people are like, oh, well, if I say this or do this, I can get attention. And that's cool because I'm 18 or something.
Clicks. Yeah.
And the thing is like all these fucking like young kids that are, doing blackface and coming out with torches and stuff like that. I'm sure all their friends just think it's fucking funny. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, there's a element of like troll culture to a lot of this too. Like people do it for the lulz or whatever, or the memes and stuff. And it's like, it's a big deal. But here's where my problem lies. Just to be totally honest, I am a firm believer that we are a little too PC. Mm-hmm. Now, do I say you are? No. Do I say you are? No. But I mean, like, maybe it's just the filter of the media or the filter of again, your algorithms or whatever you look at on a day-to-day basis. But like, I'm tired of people being offended about everything.
Yeah.
Not to say people shouldn't be offended about some things, but that's where, again, that's that kind of moderate reasonableness. It's like it's being blown on both sides to me. And it's like, I would just like to feel normalcy. And I don't know how to get there, man. And that's something I struggle with because I'm not PC at all. I've said some shitty things. I'm just honest. I think things are funny that shouldn't be funny sometimes, but I would never go around and be hateful. Yeah, and that to me is the difference. You can, I could watch a Chris Rock comedy special or heaven forbid, Louis C.K. or whatever. And I can find humor in that or like, listen to music or whatever, but I would never say anything or do anything out of hatred. And that's where I think the big issue is the hatred, not the message, not who it came from. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to know how and will we ever get back to really caring about the shit that really matters and not these microaggressions as they call it now. And it's just it's a difficult journey to traverse.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I think that the most important thing because the call out culture has really affected celebrities for the most part.
Absolutely. Because people use that opportunity to get their 15 minutes of fame. And not to say they haven't been wronged. A lot of these women or people have totally been wrong. Like Harvey Weinstein's a piece of shit, okay?
Right.
I'll be the first to admit it.
Absolutely.
But I don't feel like like the Aziz Ansari thing. I didn't see that. I'm just trying to be, this is my perception. I didn't see that on the same level at all.
Yeah.
And I think most people didn't, not to say it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a Weinstein level thing. And to lump him in with him, I don't know, man.
I guess where I fall on a lot of that is that, as a 6'4" white man, I've never had an experience as a woman or a woman of color, or I've really, had very few experiences with someone that I felt like had more power than me in terms of like physical power or whatever that may be. And so to me, it's like I operate in an extreme amount of privilege. And so whenever I hear these accounts from like the Aziz Ansari thing, or when I hear other accounts, like whenever I was at OU, and, playing football at OU, there's a large amount of African-American males that, are on the team, and hearing their experiences, I just have no other choice but to believe them.
Totally.
Because as their friend, that I feel like that's my role. But I don't feel like I'm their litigator, I guess. I don't feel like it's my role to judge whether it's true or not. It's just my role to support and to listen. And so that's kind of where I fall on that. And I'm not trying to say this from a point of like moral superiority.
Of course not.
But, for instance, to bring it back to what's happening at OU, we would go out, as teammates, and every night we experienced someone got called a racial slur. Every night that we went out.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It would happen every single time.
Now, is this like going out in Norman or going out to the city, or?
And it didn't matter.
That's fucking wild.
House parties, bars, clubs. Every night there was some kind of incident. And so I'm just saying that I think that as white folks, it's our responsibility not necessarily to get on Twitter and call everyone out, but it's our responsibility interpersonally to have those conversations when we hear those aggressions.
And that's the difference, man. It's like, I just came to mind an experience I had when I was about 18. So I had this black friend. We'll call him Jerry. Jerry and I and another friend were at our buddy's house, and there were some good old boys in the living room that were one of my friend's sister's friends. And Jerry and I and Wes were in the bedroom, just like, I think we were just like playing PS2 or something, just chilling, as high school kids do.
Well, Tony Hawk.
Yeah, little Tony Hawk too. And I went into the living room for something, and the good old boys were talking. And one of them said, they were kind of talking under their breath, and he was like, "Yeah, Jerry's here. He better not get out of line. Good thing I brought my beating stick."
What?
And just so happened, as soon as that came out of his mouth, Jerry came out into the living room and heard it. And that was one of those moments where you're just caught in the middle, and you're like I wasn't going to pick a fight with these two fat redneck dudes that could beat me into the ground. But like, I was just like, guys, not cool. And Jerry came out and was just like, say that again. And of course they didn't, because they were trying to be funny and sneak one by when there was, a black guy there. And man, so I can understand. I'm sure you heard it a million times, but like, I totally empathize with that, man. But to me, there's a difference between calling out people on the internet and really standing up for someone. Like, because you can go on the internet and say all men are trash, or, you can go the opposite way and be like, oh, these women are liars or whatever. Right. But like, I think, like you said, you nailed it with interpersonal. Yeah. Like really talking to people and gaining this understanding. Because I could tweet right now, Trent's he's really a racist, but that's not true.
Right.
But if you really were, like, you could talk to people about it, or obviously you're not. But I think the interpersonal role is super important in all of this.
Yeah,
I think I agree. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in our world as a whole today. Well, not even as a whole, mostly in your I guess westernized countries, is that we're living the majority of our lives online. Which, and it just saying that sounds cheesy in 90s, like online. Yeah, but we are living these virtual lives through character, through the words on a screen.
Look right now. there are 3-4 screens lit up at this table, and we're not even
At least we're on Google Docs.
Yeah. It's our notes for the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I have 2 screens in front of me. I mean, I am on this thing. Anytime I have to wait in line for more than 3 seconds,
Yeah,
I pull
check
out my
that
phone.
Twitter
But we're not-
feed.
but we're not-
Absolutely.
But we're not doing any personal, interpersonal. Some people are, I'm sure, it's happening, but we need to do more of that and less calling people out on the internet or just basically what do they call that? Activism, #activism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do something. Go out if you you want to stand for Black Lives Matter. Go to a march. Go vote. Go work in your local community.
Right.
Like you're a
And-
lobbyist
and,
for the Oklahoma Educators thing. Like,
that's what I spend a lot of my time doing, is trying to get people who are loud on social media to come and knock doors for people that, believe education should be properly funded, or believe, that women have a right to health care.
Yeah.
I mean, which are pretty simplistic ideas, right?
I was going to say, is that
Like,
really a stretch?
But
for
it is, though.
right? That's
Yeah.
what's crazy.
But, I mean,
well, that sounds like socialism to me.
it.
I feel like we're the most disconnected, connected
exactly.
type of people ever. Because, like you said with the screens, man, I mean, like, they're all over the place. But just because you say something on Facebook or Twitter, like, you're not doing anything. And, like, I have friends on Facebook that I've known for a long time, but they're not my friends. And I knew them at one point. Like, I went to school with, like, these people, but I don't really give a fuck about them anymore, And, like, not because they're not good people or whatever.
Mhm.
It's just like, I haven't seen you in 6 or 8 years. Like, we're not friends. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. But if you say, like, if you post a picture like, this is what I did this weekend, like, then for some people, I feel like it's like, oh, well, we're still friends. I know what they did. No, you don't fucking know them.
Yeah.
You haven't had a conversation with this person in years.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? Like, what would happen if I just completely get rid of my social media, or do it maybe a little more? I guess I don't know what word I would
Like
use.
purge style?
Purge.
Yeah.
And you start purging friends.
Yeah.
And you're like, who matters? And
I've
you would
done
get
it,
down, You
man.
would get down to
Dude,
5 people.
Right now, it's kind of like a fun time for me because I just got a new phone. No, I have none of my contacts. And so the only contacts that I have are the contacts that I had on my iPad. The only people that I really had on my iPad were people that I talked to a lot, honestly, with the exception of you, Josh, but we don't text a lot.
No.
So I was like, I don't really need Josh's number. I see him every day. So I have right now like 10 numbers in my phone.
God, I would love that.
And like, it's tight because it's just like, those are the people that I talk to. I have 10 people, pretty much tops, in my life that I talk to.
Right.
But I have hundreds of Facebook friends.
I mean,
it's
Yeah, I hear that argument a lot. That I hear it from whenever I'm at panels with legislators or with professionals or everywhere. Everyone always says social media is bad.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, as an organizer, social media is actually really great.
Mhm.
The only problem is that when people get in the comments section, it's like it removes their empathy.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Someone will say something to me in a comment section they would never say to me, and I'm not like trying to be threatening here,
Right.
but they would never say it to me in real life.
Right.
Because if we're face to
nor would they
face,
in a direct message
Right.
even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
Their
the
empathy,
anonymity.
right?
Well, like
But it's not even anonymous though, because
No.
like on Facebook, it's your name,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I can find everything about you, but they feel. I don't know. I feel like there's some way that we can figure out a way to still have all these people connecting in mass form,
Yeah.
and still also incentivize empathy.
Right.
But I mean, because with OEA, I mean, we had the walkout in April, and our president Alicia Priest did a lot of media, and we did a lot of Facebook Lives, and people would say the most hideous things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
I mean, stuff unrelated to the policy we were talking about, all related to, whatever, however they perceive her.
The low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it was so rude, and it's like, I, like as political actors, like we have access to voter files and stuff, and it's like, we know who you are, you know, like we're not ignorant of, you know, and it's like, but it just gives you this blanket.
Yeah.
That's an illusion, I think. And
well, see, I don't think that social media is bad. I think that social media is great. It's just when that's all that you are, when you become your Facebook, like, old Western storefront that's going to fall over when the wind blows, you know, like when that's just like, when that's who you are, it's just like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, go outside and have a real conversation. Go hang out with friends. Don't like poke someone on Facebook.
Right.
Like, don't be a different person.
Don't ever poke anybody on Facebook.
No.
Is poke still an option, actually?
You know what?
That's
I have no idea.
That's the creepiest thing
Dylan
ever.
got poked last night.
Dude,
are you serious?
No, but it's happened to me before, and it's the weirdest shit ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, it takes just as much time to go into someone's actual profile, go to like the section that you have to click on to then be able to do it. Just, hey, man, you have my number. I know you do.
Or hey,
shoot me a text.
or just hit me with a sup on my wall.
Dude,
or send a message.
Yeah. Well, there's another one. It's a wave.
Yeah.
You pull up Messenger, and the first thing it says is wave. Wave to Trent. Why the fuck am I going to wave to him?
Yeah.
And I figured I know what it is, because poke seems aggressive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But wave is friendly.
Yeah, friendly
So
way.
they got rid of the
Poke,
poke. Now it's a wave.
I think poke kind of, I think that's like a Freudian slip from Mark Zuckerberg. Like,
Yeah.
like how he was in college.
Well, I was going to say, it started in college.
Like, I'm sorry, but I just got to be honest about that.
Like everybody is trying to get their poke on in college.
Right.
So, you know, he's like, hey, poke, get it? Like, poke. Like, hey, I want to
See,
poke her.
that's
Yeah,
what
and he's
that's-
like, no one's going to understand this.
Yeah.
That's
But
what I
it's
thought
like,
the poke thing was. You know, if you don't send poke to a lady, it's a flirtation thing, right?
I don't know. I've never poked anyone.
I've only been poked.
I don't know.
Man, this is
I've only been poked by girls.
I've only been poked by guys on Facebook.
I've been poked, but I don't know if I have poked.
You haven't done any poking?
I don't want to make a firm statement because someone might say, "Oh yeah, you poked me at one point,"
once in college. Remember?
and then I'm gonna be like, "Oh crap, I may be poked."
So, I kind of wanted to like mention this earlier, but you're talking about like how kids, like younger kids now, are like could be missing out on places like the Green Door and stuff like that. And then you brought up the Me Too movement. Man, there is this little place in Tulsa now called Color Feed AV, and it's not like a venue, but it is. It's like this weird space that people are using right now, and it's like ran by like this small group of people.
Is it a collective?
Yeah, pretty much.
An info shop?
Yeah. So you can go in there and like they have like screen printing over on one side. They have this really cool just like setup of like pretty much like visual / audio equipment that is solely made to like morph everything. It's just like a way to fuck with all this kind of stuff. It's really cool. So but that's like one of the only venues that like underage kids can play at in Tulsa. And it's such a fucking beautiful place, man, because like I was in this band that we played around a lot, and they're from Tulsa, or they lived in Tulsa. And we would play shows there all the time, and the two girls that I would play music with like were friends with like younger women, and there's this band of like, it's straight up like it's 3 like women and then a guy drummer. And they're like 16 tops. And like their band is fucking brutal, dude. It's like screamo, like hardcore, like Riot Girl shit.
Yeah.
And before every show, they
Like
read
teen angst, like,
dude, yeah.
yeah.
And they read quotes from like the Riot Girl manifesto, and it's fucking wild. They're like, I'm not like a fan really of like their music style, just because like that's just not my thing, but the passion behind that shit is fucking dope. And then,
right.
You get a lot. Like, remember when you were 16, you picked up guitar or you played in your first band. Like
the only place I could play it was under the Mooch. It's
Right.
tiny little
Yeah.
like
But,
record
like, it was
shops
just-
and stuff.
every ounce of energy you had, you poured into every single show that you
Yeah.
played, and like that's all it was. And like like we don't have a lot of venues for all ages, so kids can come out. Like I have this idea of opening like a smaller, like base it solely off of Mocha Madness, Midwest City, a coffee shop that's open late for like college kids can like work on their shit, and then on weekends, kid bands could just come and play. If you suck, I don't give a shit. Just come play, work your shit out, and that way you can bump up and go to play another
it's
venue.
like it's a safe place to express yourself. Yeah.
And no one's gonna make fun of you. You're just come play. We'll have gear there for you if you don't have like a good guitar or whatever. Just come play.
And I have a soft spot for this because and that's why I mentioned it, partly because we actually talked about it just the other night. But for me, when I was in junior high, I had an issue. I got in a lot of fights actually. Like now I'm a very like non-violent person. But there was a point in time where I kind of had issues. And the football field was the place for me to express those. And honestly, football, in a way, aside from the concussion threats,
right.
Aside from that, in a way, it really saved my life in my common ed years. But for me, that was a really great place for me to express myself because I was huge. Not everyone can go and do that. Not everyone
can be 6'5".
And and then if you decide you want to play, any type of rock music or anything that's not church related, there are, I would say, limited spots, but I would also say no spots. Or if you want to do hip hop, or if you want to do, anything that's, non-church related, I think that, those venues are really limited. And I think that, teenagers are being kind of cheated out of expression. And I think that's really important for them to learn socially. And, it's something that supplements their education, but
I feel like when we were teenagers, we had, an environment of which to do, not just at one place. There was multiple places, almost like a conglomerate of like places you can go play a show or go see a show at like 14, 15, 16. And that was kind of like your safe space, not to use a term, but it's a place you can go and
your place
literally
hang out with all
get
your friends.
all of your frustration out and like basically be a kid and hone creativity and kind of find yourself, I guess, in a way,
But that makes me wonder, like, going back to the whole, like, the internet thing. Is that even, like, the coffee shop idea? We grew up going to that stuff together. I played there. Like, I remember, like, being crappy at guitar and playing, and you did feel accepted, and it was a safe space of sorts.
Don't self-deprecate. You were probably really good.
I was decent, all right? I was decent. But, would that survive these days? Just devil's advocate here. Like, would that survive when you go to shows now? Like, my girlfriend and I went to go see Mac DeMarco at ACM, which I love his music. She loves his music.
So sad I missed that.
It was great, man. It was beautiful.
Same.
It was just him and an acoustic, and he had a little drum machine, and it was super like intimate. But I look around, and I was like the old man in the room, man. I had to be one of the oldest people there.
There were a lot of young people at Mac DeMarco?
Crazy, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, they all were wearing the hat like him, too. It was weird.
Wow.
But everybody was on their phones. And I'm not talking like taking footage. Like everybody was on Snapchat or TikTok or whatever, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But I was like, going back to of our days of doing that stuff, like, no, but I had a Nokia with Snake on it. Like, we weren't on our phones constantly, So I'm just, not to say that it can't happen because of cell phones, but I just wonder, like, are we in this crazy different era now? Like, would that be able to survive?
Brick and mortar places are kind of going to go.
Or just attention is going to go.
Right.
Man, I don't think so, dude. Because, like, when I go, like, all of our shows, and there were so many, this, at Color Feed AV, dude, there was none of that shit.
That's good.
It was like, and everywhere I looked, man, it was like 16-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Or, like, kids getting dropped off by their fucking mom. Like, when I was leaving, packing my drums up in my car, like, there was kids being picked up, like, left and right, man. And it's like, you would see people on their phones, like, in between the sets, but, like, all those kids were there.
They were in the moment.
They were in the moment. Like, fucking none of those, I'm sure half of those kids didn't have jobs. So, like, they asked for money, I'm sure. This is what I remember doing, but, asking for money from their parents, like, hey, can I get $10?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to this place. I know that kids like that the bands and stuff are selling zines, or they're selling tapes or something like that. Can I bum a tenner, Mom?
Right. For a night on the town.
And you got your crisp $10 bill to buy like this handmade zine or art piece or whatever from these bands. And I feel like if you get the right kids, like in the right environment, like there's no phones, which is awesome to
It's being
see.
a part of something. And once you're in that environment, once they're in that environment, you almost like you forget about it. Like you're not gonna think about it. You'll probably first maybe take a picture of like the band or whatever, but for the most part, you're experiencing something new. You're kind of, I guess, finding your niche, or like creating a community, especially in a place like that venue where it's literally learning skills and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna really want to pull your phone out all the fucking time.
Right.
You're involved. You're entrenched in it.
And you
maybe
probably
we're
go
not
to
entrenched enough shit.
school. You probably go to school with the dudes and girls playing these songs. Like you're there like for your friends, which is, God, I fucking miss that so much. Like I'm lucky enough to be able to like do this with you guys and like the other podcasts that I do with like friends of mine that like I've known for a long time. Like it's awesome to be able to do that now that I'm older still. But man, was it fun when I was 16, or 15, getting dropped off to play shows at a tiny little record shop that's not even there anymore.
Right.
That shit was tight. And then you go to school on Monday and talk to all your friends about it.
Right.
It was so cool.
you're the rock star on Monday.
Yeah,
It's like,
dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember those days.
That shit's great.
Yeah.
walk down the hall.
Yeah.
So we do have to wrap up soon, but I did want to go back to the football thing, because you said, that's how you got your aggression out.
Right.
You played college football at the University of Oklahoma.
That's
Yeah.
a baller.
Yeah, literally balling.
Yeah, that's sick as fuck.
I just really wanted to touch on it for a moment and just kind of talk about it. Like, we talked about one of the bad aspects of it, and that wasn't even inter team.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
external.
Right.
But just kind of, if you don't mind, just kind of humor me a little bit. Like, what was that like, man, to like be a part of this huge thing?
Yeah.
You played with Sam Bradford?
Yeah, I did for a couple years.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually had a really interesting experience. Am I allowed to say this? Can I have another beer?
Oh yeah. You can have another Anthem. AnthemBrewing.com.
Not allowed to
beer.
say it. You only get one.
I will have another Anthem IPA. It's very tasty.
Bingo.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I actually my journey to playing at OU was a little bit different than most people. I think some people thought that I was a scholarship player and that I had been recruited. I was a little bit recruited, but not really. I was recruited within NCAA guidelines.
Okay.
But I was a walk-on. So I was paying for school while I was playing until my last 8 months of my senior year, basically. That was whenever I was awarded a scholarship. So I showed up virtually at the bottom.
Okay.
A lot of my coaches, my coach, my position coach, he knew me very well. We spoke often, but a lot of the other coaches really had no clue who I was or where I was from or anything. Consequentially, I guess, my coach also started as a walk-on when he played in college and then earned a scholarship. So I think he kind of saw a lot of himself in me a little bit. And we both engaged with football kind of from an intellectual standpoint. We really enjoyed the X's and O's, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But so, yeah, I started out, I showed up on campus probably, I was 6'4", 215 pounds, and I was a tight end. For a point of reference, Jermaine Gresham was 6'6.5", 255 pounds. So I had quite a lot of room to make up if I wanted to play. I was able to gain some weight through my redshirt year, get to a point where it wasn't dangerous to put me on the field.
Right.
And so,
That's wild.
which that was actually something my coach said to me in my redshirt year. Yeah. When they redshirted me, he was like, we're going to redshirt you, even though, because he put me, when I showed up for two-a-days, which we call camp, I guess. When I showed up for camp, he put me in with the ones. He threw me into the fire. and I actually did pretty well. But he said, we're going to have to go ahead and redshirt you because I feel like it's dangerous to put you on the field with some of the guys we have to play.
Now, what exactly does that mean? I've heard it my whole life. I've heard my dad say it a million times. He's a big OU fan. But what does that exactly mean?
So, for instance, like your average, your average defensive end is probably 6'5", 260 to 280 pounds.
Okay.
Runs like a 4.6 probably, so very big, very athletic.
Big fella.
Your average linebacker is probably anywhere from 6 foot to 6'4", 225 to 245 pounds. And they run, 4.5s probably.
What is that last thing that you're saying?
Oh, a 4.5 second 40.
I don't know that either.
Oh, okay.
So they can run 40 yards in 4.5 seconds.
Tight.
So
okay.
Yeah,
we're good now.
Sorry. I know. Sorry. I'm trying not to use too much jargon, but
use all the jargon.
Okay.
Just like, I don't know what you're saying. I do now, though.
Yeah.
So we're good.
All right. Sorry about that.
No.
But so, I mean, you have these guys, and that's what people complain about football all the time is that people are getting too big and too fast.
Right.
But so, yeah, I had to redshirt, and then gain weight. And so after I kind of beefed up, the next year, which was the 2008 year, which was the year that we scored 60 points in, 6 games in a row, and set a record for offensive points and all that. Sam won the Heisman. We went to the national championship, won the Big 12. I appeared in actually 5 of those 6 games that we scored 60 points in.
Nice.
That's what's up,
Yeah,
dude.
So I got lucky for me, but unlucky for others. The reason why I was able to play is because 2 other tight ends got hurt.
Oh.
One of them broke his leg, and he was a good friend of mine, actually a roommate of mine for 3 years. And so I was able to just squeeze in, and the thing that motivated me, I guess, while I was playing was something that my brother told me, which was when they put you in, you have to force them to not take you out. Like you have to play so well that like even when those guys come back, they're always going to think like you did, you did your stuff, you didn't screw up. And so you'll always be, a guy they can rely on. And then it turned out the next year, Jermaine ended up in 2009, which was the year we lost to BYU, our first game. And it was a pretty rough season. Jermaine got hurt right before the first game, Thursday, actually. And I'm his backup. So after Thursday, now all of a sudden I'm starting. And I thought, I'd play like 20 plays, turns out I'm starting. And so I go into this game and
Dude, what was that like? What was going through your head when you're like, oh, fuck?
Well, probably that. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to embarrass the university. I didn't want to embarrass my family.
Wow. Okay. So already a lot of weight on your shoulders right now.
But, I'm a very competitive individual.
Okay.
That I wasn't the strongest, and I definitely was not even close to being the fastest. But when you put me into a competition, I don't know how. I mean, I still don't. I think about it sometimes still to this day. I don't know how, but I could win. And, in between that national championship loss and then the 2009 season, that's kind of how I earned my spot to number 2 was in the off season. They would make us do tug of war, but it was 1-on-1. So it was a towel and it was taped together. And so you interlocked arms and you started on the 5-yard line, and he had to either take me back 5 yards or I'd take him back 5 yards. And
playing casino over there, Grandma?
they would throw me in there against these upperclassmen linebackers, because tight ends always compete with linebackers.
Okay.
And I just would win time after time. And actually, one time I had a bum ankle, and they put me in. I still won.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
And I just was very competitive.
Determined.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't, I didn't bench press more than anybody. Actually, I never bench pressed. I don't think I could even bench press 225 pounds till I was like a senior in college, which is absurd for a tight end at a university like OU. So I wasn't very strong, but I could just compete. And, ultimately that was something that it was an intangible, I guess, that
is that what kept you playing? You play football from childhood up, right?
Right.
So is that what kind of kept you playing it? Obviously, it wasn't like dreams of going pro because of your size. It was like, you're not going to you're going to go playing for the Dallas Cowboys, being 6'4". And
I mean, that was the dream.
Yeah.
But, once I got to OU, I realized I saw guys like DeMarco Murray and Jermaine Gresham and, Joe John Finley and even, Sam. And I saw these guys and I was like, well, I'm clearly a different class of athlete, but my competitive edge, I think maybe, balance some of that out. So I thought I could possibly squeeze into the NFL. It ended up not working out for me. It was actually kind of, in a way it was a blessing, but in another way, I guess it kind of was tragic. But the reason why I didn't really ever go to the NFL or play, go to a team camp or anything was after my senior year, I got a bacterial infection in my stomach and I lost like 40 pounds.
Oh, no.
In like a month and a half.
Yeah.
After that month and a half, I got some calls from a couple teams and they were like, we want you to come to camp and try, and I was like, I weigh 210 pounds.
And they're like, click.
Yeah. No, actually, they were like, okay, well, let us know when you gain it back and we'll bring you back.
Yeah.
And,
like down in ho-hos and...
But
a lot of personal pans.
Yeah.
A lot of
They're
them.
reading a lot of books.
But no, there was so much other stuff going on too. Like I suffered a pretty serious concussion my senior year during camp. And so at that point, after the illness, I just kind of said, I think it's time for me to move on. I've played sports for my first 25 years.
Yeah, time for something else.
Yeah, and I'm ready to kind of do something else. And so I'd actually taken a year off from school to figure out kind of what I wanted to do, and worked at Fuzzy's Taco Shop actually for a little bit.
Nice.
And then I worked in an oil field supply warehouse, and that really encouraged me to go back to school. And after I finished school, decided I kind of wanted to work with kids. And so worked with kids for a while at the Boys and Girls Club here in Oklahoma City. And that's where I found my true passion, which is, policy and trying to make sure that, the state of Oklahoma's doing things good for the kids and doing things right for, everybody else.
And
too.
someday we will.
Yeah.
Someday.
We're making incremental change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, this last year, if nothing else, shows that there is a will to do that.
Okay, serious question. Is the weed money going to the kids? I'm serious, because that's what I heard, and that's what I heard from Colorado.
Right.
And now that it's medicinal here, I was really hoping, kind of like I was hoping with the lottery, that a lot of that money would go to teachers and students.
Right.
And
so I'm gonna I'm gonna preface this with a pretty obvious fact. I'm not an expert on weed, on marijuana policy, but there is, I believe, a certain amount that is going to go to schools. The problem that we're going to run into is the way that we collect revenue from it. If we limit it to medical, then obviously it's going to be a smaller tax base.
Right.
But even with that, from some of the things I've read from an organization called ITEP, which is the Institute of Tax and Economic Policy, they do really good work. But anyway, what I've read from them is that if we tax it based on sales, we're going to get a lot less money than if we tax it based on weight. So kind of implementing more of an excise tax rather than like a sin tax.
Right.
And so if we did something like that, I think that we can, collect a lot more revenue that will not only help education, but will help the health department be able to process all this stuff and help like OSU, who's potentially maybe going to be the chief training program for folks who want to get into that business. Yeah. So I think we just have to be really smart about how we do it. If we do it in a traditional sense, which is taxing it like we do alcohol, we're going to probably get a lot less revenue than we could if we taxed it differently. So
interesting.
Yeah. But it does actually look like they're like taking strides for that to actually go to education.
Yeah. And honestly, I would really follow this session, which starts on Monday, because like education was the focus last year, and education will still be a focus this year, but marijuana is going to be a big focus this year. Yeah. So I would follow along and make sure that, you're really paying attention to see what they're going to do. And I mean, there's other organizations you can follow that will give you information like ITEP and Economic Policy Institute, other places like that do a lot of that data research. But ultimately, the most important thing is paying attention to your legislature, because that's where you can make the biggest impact. If you see something you agree with or disagree with, it's pretty easy to just give them a call, write them a letter or an email, or show up to the Capitol and say, and meet them and say, let them know how you feel and start building that relationship. So.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, man, this was an awesome conversation, Trent. Thank you so much for coming. Any closing thoughts or anything before we wrap it up?
My dad is going to probably love the fact that you're on this podcast, dude.
I was already thinking I'm going to text my dad as soon as I hit stop here.
I didn't even think about it, really. But yeah, my dad is the biggest OU fan.
No, my dad is.
Oh, okay.
Let's have him do tug of war.
Actually, my father-in-law is.
It's just so funny because I mean I'm not like a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
Like I've just enjoyed like talking to you as a person, because I'm just like, when I heard that you played football for OU, I was like, okay, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool thing. But I know my dad is gonna shit his pants. Like
I feel like the fact that I played football whenever I start, but I've spent the last 3 years working in policy. Once I start kind of whipping out some of that, that knowledge from my experience, people are kind of like, did you really play football?
Right.
Yeah.
But
you're just saying that because you're tall.
They're like, did you actually play though? Because you seem kind of smart or whatever. And I'm like, hey, come on, let's not stereotype football players.
Right.
Yeah.
Pigeonhole. Yeah. So if somebody wants to look you up on the online avenue of choice, where can people look you up at?
So it might be difficult to spell my last name, but all of my social media is just Trent_Ratterree. And so
I explain it to Rob like this: Rat, like the band Rat.
Yep.
Double the R and double the E. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And it'll be in the show notes. We'll put a link in there. So Trent, thank you so much for coming by,
Trent.
man.
Thanks for having me on.
Bye.